In fact, all these things are tied together. They've been tied together by our adversaries. Beijing is the chief sponsor for the adversaries that President Trump is dealing with. In 2022, the Russians launched the largest ground war in Europe since World War II. The next year, the Iranians and their proxies, like Hamas, end up launching a 7-front war against Israel. Like, you can't just ignore these things and say, not our problem. We're just going to sit and babysit Taiwan. You have to be able to do all of them. So what did President Trump do in addition to sequencing these things? He said, we need to increase our defense spending by 50%. That would bring it up to at least the bottom range of the level that it was at under President Reagan as a percentage of GDP. You in your taxonomy, you mentioned these sort of like fake China firsters. You notice that they're always the ones who also argue that the U.S. can't possibly spend more on its defense, right? President Trump has already settled that. I mean, he's got to get that through Congress. But he's made a very clear statement that we're now living in, it's a realist statement. He's the realist here who's saying, okay, Europe's at war. We didn't ask for that. The Middle East is at war. We didn't start that war. We're trying to finish it now and to reduce nuclear risk and also other risks emanating from that militant regime that kills its own kids by the tens of thousands in the street. I didn't ask for the war, but here we are. I'm trying to finish it. And yes, China's the major factor that looms behind all of this. But if, in fact, Venezuela democratizes, if, in fact, this regime in Iran is left toothless and without claws for a generation, and if Ukraine can remain sovereign and Russia remains frustrated, losing 1,000 men a day on that battlefield, President Trump will have inflicted a serious strategic blow to the People's Republic of China and to the regime there. So he's coming at it from a different direction than just focusing on the Western Pacific, but nonetheless, he's changing the strategic context in ways that are going to be problematic for China, so long as we win these fights, right? We can't lose Ukraine. We can't afford to let Iran emerge from this conflict with a chokehold on Hormuz and controlling the fate of the world energy market. I think President Trump has settled this kind of fake debate that's been lurking in recent years about restraint or non-restraint or first prioritize China, not prioritize. He's moving forward with the strategy. And if he sees it through, it's going to be effective at dealing with all of our enemies.